So you've been told to follow your passion, but here's why it might be keeping you broke. Hey, my name is Scott Trace. I'm known as the ADHD career coach, and choosing your career is a high stakes decision. You can end up stuck in a job that you might hate or unable to make enough money, wasting time that you can never get back. And we all want a satisfying career where we can have enough financial independence, some autonomy, growth, or a meaningful job. But we need to know the path and have a plan to actually get there. But the problem is that we lack an effective framework for career development, right? How to actually navigate our professional life. So we operate on these cliche career advice, do what you love, chase your dreams, follow your passion. I call this the treasure hunt mentality. But here's the ADHD trap. This is the outcome, not the process. That's why it's so appealing to us ADHDers, because we're interest-driven creatures, right? Passion feels great, but these are destinations, they're not roadmaps. So there's 4 problems with this follow your passion cliche advice. The first is, well, what if we don't know our passion, right? There's too many options, and how can you choose? And how can you know every single job that's out there? And what if there's something you've never heard of or even thought about? Second problem is, what if we don't ever feel our passion? This is a huge problem for people with anxiety or depression or ADHD related challenges. This advice is useless if you can't really connect and feel that feeling. What if we ruin our passion? Number 3, you turn your hobby into work. Or what if you end up not liking it because now it has deadlines and pressure? Or 4th, what if our passion is keeping us broke? And this financial flaw falls on 3 core points. The ultimate flaw is that it's self-centered. The reason passion keeps you poor is fundamentally, this is all about you, right? You're only asking, what can I get out of this? Instead of, what value can I provide? What do I get? Instead of, what can I give? Who can I help? What problems can I solve? These are the questions where we stop making it about us and about other people. Another problem has to do with supply and demand. Many passions that we have, especially in creative fields or just really cool jobs, they're either low paying or they're very saturated and uber competitive, right? They're cool jobs, but the market doesn't value them enough to maybe pay for a living wage, or they just don't have to for most people. And the third flaw is around what I'm going to call this honeymoon phase, where every career eventually leaves that honeymoon phase, and it just becomes routine. And for the ADHD brain, that initial dopamine hit from the novelty is where we make a mistake for a sustainable career. When the work becomes boring, hyperfocus dies, and you're left with this job that you now hate. And this constant cycle of starting and stopping jobs is going to keep you financially unstable. So let's talk about a shift that's going to be more towards a strategic framework. Because ultimately, a satisfying and financially successful career is one built off of service. Providing as much value as you can. This means helping people, solving problems, and producing results. The less we make our career about us, and the more we make it about our customer or our employer or our neighbor, you're going to trade that impact for what you want and need, right? That's an income, autonomy, to have a job you actually can take pride in. To execute this values-based shift, you need a framework. Here's a 5-step strategic career framework that I teach in my hybrid coaching programs. The first step is we're going to define the outcome, right? Essentially, what do you want? What are your goals, your aspirations, your financial requirements? So yes, we're starting with you, but then we're quickly moving on to step 2, which is where we start to figure out what can you offer. And we're going to actually audit your career capital, your skills, your experience, your expertise, the stuff that you know. We also can offer our labor, right? That's the actual expenditure of my time and my attention and my energy. The third step is we're going to locate the value gap. Essentially what I'm going to call your niche. Where do you fit? So this is where you think about who needs what you have to offer, right? The problems that you can solve. Who's actually having those? What do they want? What do they need? What do they care about? What's their deep-seated pain point? What are they struggling with? When we stop thinking about us and we start, kind of putting on this jacket of or this lens of empathy, we are looking at our employer, we're looking at our customer, we're looking at the people that we are here to help. And that's a successful career, right? Is that passion of solving or serving others and solving problems. That's actually why we're then going to be able to leverage that for the stuff that we need. Once we ask that question, then we're going to start to map our options, right? We're going to start to expand all the different possibilities. Like, hey, let me think of different job titles or different ways that I can do that, different fields or industries. Maybe it's self-employment, maybe it's working for other people, maybe I'm starting a YouTube channel, maybe I'm, right? Maybe, right? We want to come up with loads and loads of different ideas, but that can sometimes be overwhelming. So then we're going to need to start to narrow those. And this is part of that framework is we say, hey, we're going to expand, but then we're going to focus in. I've been starting to call this like the Chipotle of career, right? If you've ever been in a restaurant and there's just too many options, too many ideas for what you can order, and it's kind of overwhelming. Versus if you're at a Chipotle, right? It's like black beans or pinto, taco or burrito. That's where we go through this narrowing process. And then our step 5 to all of this is around taking action, right? So we've done some planning, we've done some exploration, but now we need to start to take steps towards this. And some of that might be, yes, applying for a job or getting started into something. Some of that might be, yes, applying to school and actually going back. But it might also be more about testing and iterating, right? Maybe I'm actually just shadowing or kind of trying it out in a different way. Maybe I'm talking with someone doing what's called an informational interview, where I'm saying, hey, give me your expertise. What's your experience with something like this? Maybe I am shadowing or just taking a part-time job, right? Kind of dipping my toes in the water. But we're not just trying this out and then that's it. We're then using that information, that experiential data, to come back and iterate further from there, right? So I'm going to take that test, I'm going to take that experience, I'm going to take that data, and then I'm going to refine from there, right? What did I like? What did I not like? And let me sort of use that to inform my decisions moving forward. But again, the number one problem I see for folks, and this is even more true for people with ADHD, is this lack of a system to actually execute this. Right? If you're stuck and you need the 4 full step strategic roadmap, to identify what your high value career is, that's really going to be my ADHD career change program. But if you know what that target is and you're struggling to execute, right, to have that accountability, to actually make decisions and apply to positions and actually make it happen, then check out my Job Search Accelerator program. Both of these programs are in the show notes, so you can actually check those out and learn a little bit more. The other thing that if you're interested in actually working together, I am offering to you today a free call, what's called a consultation. So if you want to actually touch base, we can talk on the phone for about 10 to 15 minutes where I'm going to hear about a little bit of your situation. We can start to clarify some of your goals, what you'd want out of some of this coaching experience, and really sort of see if we're going to be a good fit and working together. I'm certain I'd love to touch base, and again, you can check out the show notes and schedule that free consultation. Ultimately, guys, I think it's really important for you to be passionate about your career. And I think it's an admirable goal to love what you do. I know I do. But the question is how do you get there? Are you following your passions? Are you following your dreams? Are you following like a sheep? Or are you going to be building this? Are you going to be bringing your passions with you? Are you going to be building that dream? Are you going to be using that love in every single day? When we go from finding to building, that's when I think this stuff can actually happen. Ultimately, guys, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for your energy. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in our next video.